Miss Christine is the free operator in the Act or Die event. You can obtain her by clearing stage AD4. But is she worth building? Let's go over her kit to determine that. Miss Christine is a Primal Caster, which means her attacks deal arts damage and can inflict elemental damage. In Miss Christine's case, it's nervous impairment. Enemies under the burst effect of nervous impairment take 6,000 elemental damage and are inflicted with 3 stacks of paralysis with a cooldown of 10 seconds. Each stack of paralysis can interrupt an enemy when it attempts to perform a normal attack. Her talent is Captivating Delicacy. Enemies within attack range take 130% of her attack as elemental damage when they trigger paralysis. Most Primal Casters have a similar talent, but the attack modifier is low for casters with the nervous impairment element. This is understandable since they are more crowd control oriented. Unfortunately for Miss Christine, neither this talent nor her skills give her extra utility aside from the nervous impairment. However, on the bright side, it contributes a lot of burst damage when paired with operators who can trigger the paralysis, giving her more consistent damage when her skill is on cooldown. Her first skill is Mealtime Manners. It grants plus 50% attack, allows her to attack 2 targets at once, and attacks deal an additional 15% of arts damage as nervous impairment. As you might expect, 15% is a small amount, especially with only a 50% attack increase, which means it takes a long time to trigger the burst effect. However, it's a viable option when you pair her with thorns equipped with the Delta module, as they can trigger the nervous impairment at a reasonable speed together. It is still somewhat clunky to use this pair, as most trash mobs, and sometimes elite enemies, get defeated before triggering the nervous impairment, while bosses take too long. I only recommend this skill if you have thorns with the Delta module and you don't have Tragodia. Maybe this will change if we get a 5-star ritualist for nervous impairment in the future. On this note, Gracebearer's first skill can work with this skill. It's just not as efficient as thorns, obviously, but if you do use them, I recommend pairing them with attack buffers like Civilite Eterna or Sora to inflict elemental injury faster, since it's based on a small percentage of the damage dealt. Her second skill is Bacchanalia. Miss Christine stops attacking and summons a sensory spirit at the target's location. The spirit deals 115% of her attack as arts damage to all nearby enemies every second. If the target is under the burst effect of nervous impairment, they are dealt an additional 115% of attack as elemental damage. The AoE damage is good if the enemies are under the burst effect, and the constant hits each second make it even more effective during that short 10-second burst window. However, this skill is only viable when paired with Tragodia, as the damage is very underwhelming against enemies that aren't under the burst effect, all while having a very long skill cycle. Her upcoming module improves her trait by increasing damage to 110% against enemies under the effect of Elemental Burst. It also improves her talent by increasing damage to 120% against enemies inflicted with paralysis. Additionally, it increases the elemental damage taken by enemies within attack range from 130% to 140% when they trigger paralysis. This is a good module since her talent does a lot of heavy lifting, especially for her first skill. Overall, Miss Christine is very team-dependent, like most Primal Casters. Unfortunately, she doesn't perform well even when babysat with supporters like Civilite Eterna and Telopsis. In my opinion, her first skill is worth considering if you have thorns, but outside of that, I don't recommend building her, especially for new players. That's it for this video. I hope it was helpful. Thank you for watching.